At the time of recording this, the London hard fork for Ethereum has just been implemented. What does that do to the price of Ethereum, and why is EIP 1559 such a big deal? And the stories are not just about Ethereum. The Bitcoin naysayers have crawled out of the closet as well. They are now saying that because Bitcoin's price is fluctuating so much, it is not a good store of value like gold is. Well, is it or isn't it? You're about to find out. Welcome to episode number 6 of Connect. I'm Nischal Shetty, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about whether Bitcoin is actually a good store of value or not. The thing is, Bitcoin has been around for about 13 years, and in that time, it's gone from almost nothing to an all-time high of almost $64,000. But even Bitcoin maximalists will have to admit that it has been a volatile journey, and that volatility is what's making people wonder and scratch their beards and go, is it really a good store of value like gold is? Well, I'm about to explain. Here's one of the things to consider. Bitcoin's low every year is higher than the previous year's low. All the years that Bitcoin has been around except for 1 year. So that graph of Bitcoin's value has been an almost perfect line like that, which in my opinion makes it a great store of value. The thing is, Bitcoin has held its value against a depreciating dollar, pound, or rupee. And it's not because Bitcoin has gotten better. It's just that fiat currencies have gotten worse. Let me explain. When I was in college, I remember sitting behind my brother's bike when he used to fill petrol in his bike. For 50 rupees back then, you could get 5.2 liters of petrol for 50 rupees. The price of 1 liter of petrol now is more than 100 rupees. Now, has petrol gotten better? No, not really. But what's happened is the currency that's used to buy petrol has devalued. That's gotten worse, whereas petrol is still exactly the same. So that's what's happening with Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin is staying exactly the same, but the currencies used to buy Bitcoin, those are steadily devaluing, and they're going to keep devaluing. But why does volatility happen? Why does the price fluctuate? Well, it fluctuates because two people have no understanding of what the true value of that product is. And very often, when it comes to Bitcoin, they've done no research, no work, have no knowledge, and therefore no understanding of the true value of Bitcoin. But the people who say that Bitcoin is not a good store of value come up with another issue: manipulation. They say that Bitcoin can be manipulated, and the truth is, yes, it can be. Almost anything can be manipulated in the short term. In fact, one of my favorite stories is how oil was manipulated when the COVID crisis hit. In April 2020, a certain Middle Eastern country, when COVID hit, flooded the market with oil, and for a while, the price of a barrel of oil actually went negative. That's right. A barrel of oil went less than $0. That country then went ahead and bought shares in a lot of companies that would do very well if the price of oil went up. Then what do? They cut production. And lo and behold, the price of oil went skywards. Now, the thing is, that was manipulation, no doubt about it. But was it illegal? No, it isn't. But let's not forget, we're not talking about trading in Bitcoin every day. We're talking about Bitcoin as a store of value, much like gold is. In April this year, when Bitcoin was at its peak or nearabouts, there was this rumor floating around that Bitcoin was chipping away at gold's total market cap, as much as 7% of gold's total market cap. Well, it turns out that story isn't true. The truth is, Bitcoin chipped away at about 2% of gold's total market cap. So it is chipping away at it, but gold has been around for 5,000 years, and it'll probably be around for another 5,000. There are countless stories over the years of how in times of famine, war, plague, gold, physical gold, I'm not talking about gold futures or gold bonds, has seen many a family through in that time of crisis. So here's my opinion, and this is my opinion, not financial advice. There is a strong case to invest in both Bitcoin and in physical gold. How much you want to put in either is up to you, because both are really good stores of value. But the question you have to ask yourself, particularly when it comes to Bitcoin, is not what the value of Bitcoin is going to be next month or even next year, but where Bitcoin is going to be in 10 years' time. For example, if you have 10,000 rupees today, what will that 10,000 rupees be worth in 10 years' time? But if you buy Bitcoin today with that 10,000 rupees, what will that same Bitcoin be worth in 10 years' time? Again, that is why I say Bitcoin is a great store of value. The fact is, governments are going to continue to print money. They have no other option. You can ask any economist about this. They have no option but to print money, and that money is going to continue to devalue. Currencies are always going to devalue. Cryptocurrency gives you the opportunity to take some of your wealth and put it away in a commodity that is not going to devalue. And the thing is, the only things that won't devalue are those that have widespread acceptance and are scarce. Things like precious metals like gold and Bitcoin. And in my opinion, you should have a bit of both. Mike, thanks for the jacket, man.
Thank you.
Did you understand what I said about Bitcoin being a good store of value?
I absolutely did.
And do you have some?
Of course I do.
Mike's smart. Be like Mike. Now when we come back, we're going to talk about Ethereum's London hard fork and what that means for that particular coin. And so to answer that question, whether Bitcoin is still a good store of value, let's call upon the expert. He is the CEO and founder of India's biggest cryptocurrency exchange, India's Bitcoin ka exchange, WazirX. Nischal Shetty, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Nikhil. Thanks a lot for having me here.
The last time you were here, we didn't have a name for the show, but it's now called Connect. So welcome to Connect.
Good name, and I think the whole process that went about where you involve the community in the whole naming thing. I think that's sort of the start of how even decentralization is all about, involving the community. So kudos to you for that.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for that. Now, one of the questions I want to ask you is, of course, WazirX is known now in India as India's Bitcoin exchange. There's an exact tagline.
India ka Bitcoin exchange.
India ka Bitcoin exchange. But you offer literally hundreds of different tokens and coins on WazirX's platform, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think over 100 now.
So why is it that WazirX is so bullish on Bitcoin? And do you think that Bitcoin, despite its price volatility, is still a good store of value?
Sure. I think I'll answer that in two different parts. I think the first part is, why Bitcoin in the tagline? And in general, if you look at it, what we've seen is that the terms crypto and Bitcoin have sort of become interchangeable. A lot like photocopy and Xerox. Where we identify more with Xerox rather than photocopy. I don't even remember the last time I said photocopy, but I think that's what has happened, and we are not here to change that notion. We don't want to fight that battle. I think people identify crypto with Bitcoin. Let's go ahead with that. The other important aspect is, if you look at Bitcoin, it's that one asset class which really, while there has been a founder, and the founder is anonymous, which means it really does not belong to anyone. It belongs to everyone. And there are no biases of the founders or the creators or the companies behind it. And I think that is,
if I can just pause you there for a second, Nischal, it's one of those points that keeps coming out at me. It keeps popping out on social media, that the people pushing Bitcoin or encouraging people to invest in Bitcoin don't actually own any of the company. Unlike so many other, different coins and different tokens, which I don't want to name right now, their founders and their owners keep pushing those coins. But the people pushing Bitcoin are people who believe in Bitcoin. There's a big difference, isn't there?
Absolutely. And that's what true community is all about, where, and it's more like the internet. If you think about it, nobody owns the internet. Maybe a Facebook, a Twitter, or Instagram is owned by companies, and maybe there's an ulterior motive. But when you're promoting internet, why do you do that? Because you genuinely want people to be on it. And I think that's the similar approach that Bitcoin has, that unique position to be in. And you cannot replicate that, which is why we also feel that it's a neutral, I would say, crypto. It's a true neutral crypto. There are no biases towards it. So that's the reason why we talk about Bitcoin in the same terms as crypto.
So about 6 months ago, I watched you on a CNBC program where everybody was joking about how, Bitcoin's not going to really hit $40,000. And a couple of months after that, it went to $65,000, $64,000. Okay. Bitcoin now, at the time of this recording, is on another small bull run. Where do you think we could be with Bitcoin's value by the end of the year?
So
Putting you on the
so
spot over there. Okay?
yeah.
Not gonna hold you, but putting you on the spot. Not financial advice, guys. Very important for you to note that this is not financial advice. But Nischal, where will we be at the end of 2021?
Yeah, so I think all the disclaimers, and I don't think I want to really put a number, but what I said in that CNBC episode as well, that the general consensus seems to be that Bitcoin will cross $100,000 this year, and that's where I also believe. But again, don't take it as financial advice. But I think that 100K is a very important milestone for Bitcoin in the whole upswing that's happening. And if you look at the history, 2017, 15 to 20K was that milestone where it went into that range. This time it should be 100 to 150K, but I think 100 is more realistic. Again, nothing realistic has ever happened in crypto, so you don't know what zone it can go.
Listen,
but that's the number.
When you say it's an important milestone, and I understand what you mean by that, but explain it to people watching. Why is that 100K number an important milestone? What's going to happen, and what do you see? And what happened when we hit the previous milestones?
Yeah, I think it's end of the day, when it comes to asset classes, it's more psychological,
Yeah.
And I think psychology plays an important part. The other is not even 100K. I think before that, Bitcoin will cross $1 trillion in market cap. Right now, it's about $800 billion or $850 billion.
Yep.
So another 60, 70 was that thing. At 100K, what happens? It might come closer to 1.5, which means you start also understanding that even the worst valuations would be then $1 trillion. So, your 50, 60K becomes a new normal for everyone, and 100K becomes a peak. Right now, what you saw is it reached 60, 65, and it fell down to, let's say, 30, 35, where 30, 35 is the normal. So I think the 100K is a very significant milestone to sort of range bound Bitcoin in the 800 to $1 trillion market cap. And that's where most of the people are looking at it, and it's just a good number. It's a round figure. We all live for round figures.
Yes, we all like a little roundness, and in our lives. But I actually believe in something similar to what you're talking about. But I want to put it across slightly differently. I believe in a bit of a cycle of people FOMOing in when Bitcoin hits a peak, and it happened with me as well. When Bitcoin hit $20,000 or close to $20,000 in 2017, that's when I FOMOed in, right? And then once people FOMO in and the value drops a little bit, then you start to understand more about the coin, the token, and the cryptocurrency. And I think that what will happen if we hit that 100K number is that you get a whole bunch of new people FOMOing in. Then there will be a correction. And then by the time it starts to go up again into its next bull run, all the people who FOMOed in will become new believers, new evangelists. So it'll lead to more adoption of the cryptocurrency and an understanding of blockchain, is what I believe. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every peak, if you see even the history, every peak is an opportunity for the ecosystem to grow. And it brings in, like you rightly said, a new set of people. The good thing here is, unlike a technical where a bubble comes in and you never win, the history shows that in a 3-year period, even if you entered, let's say, even at that 20,000 range back in 2017, you would have made at least 2.5 to 3x in a 3-year period. So the good thing is the FOMO, if history repeats, you don't have to worry even if you FOMO in, just wait for 3 years. It's going to give you great returns. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to that peak being hit because the ecosystem is going to grow. We've already seen that happen at the 50K range, 50 to 60K range. We've seen a 3x increase in the number of people in India alone. So I think at 100K, I think it'll be a 5 to 10x increase.
That's very exciting for WazirX, isn't it? Is the app ready for that kind of growth?
So we've been working really hard on that because this year, if it's been anything that we realized that I expect the unexpected when it comes to the number of people in the sector. We thought maybe tops 1 million, 2 million people would come in. We saw about 4 to 5 million people sign up in the last 5 to 6 months on WazirX alone. So we are definitely getting up for a larger audience coming in, and the team is working day and night on that.
Okay, so now let's answer that very important question which we started this episode with, which is Bitcoin still a good store of value? Because as an asset class, it fluctuates so wildly. I'm a believer, but I want to know what your opinion is.
So I think, look, it depends on what do you a store of value? Yes. Why? Because it's deflationary. There is no new inflation coming into the ecosystem. But the question is then, it's a store of value, sure, but it's fluctuating so much. What do I do? Now, this is where it depends on what sort of a store of value you're looking at. If you're looking at a store of value for a short-term period, I would say a gold definitely wins. Why? Is because it's a larger market, more stable for short-term fluctuations. But if you're looking at a slightly long-term period, like I said, a 3-year period or a 5-year period, and you want to make sure that your wealth is not just conserved, but it also grows in value, then Bitcoin seems to be that good asset class. Why? Is because it's early. There are wild swings, but in that 3-year period, history shows that it's always gained in value. And that's because more and more people adopt it. So you should understand your time frame for a store of value. And I think based on that, I think Bitcoin really works. Again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think it's about diversifying. The good thing is you only had gold as a store of value for a long time. Now you have one more option. So there are more options in the world today.
You and I are speaking more or less the same language, because in my monologue, I said that it is good to have a little bit of gold and a little bit of Bitcoin. It's up to you to do your research and your homework and decide how much you want to put in either. Again, we need to underline the fact that this is not financial advice, and we really do suggest and recommend that you do your own research before investing in any cryptocurrency or any store of value or any commodity at all. Nischal, the other thing that I want to talk about is, at the time when we were recording this, we had just gone into the Ethereum hard fork, the London hard fork. And there was a lot of excitement and speculation about what that'll do to the value of Ethereum, especially since now Ethereum is going to be burning its gas fees. Do you see any scenario where Ethereum is going to skyrocket astronomically? And is there a chance of Ethereum flipping Bitcoin?
So I technically really don't honestly believe that any token would surpass Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, the best thing is, apart from being the neutral and all what we spoke about, Bitcoin does not really have to conform to a specific use case. Just like gold does not really have to try too hard. It just has to exist. Bitcoin just has to exist. Whereas Ethereum and every other utility token has to conform to the use cases, has to compete with other platforms. So we don't know what direction this would go. Having said that, I think the hard fork is a very important aspect, because Ethereum has been an inflationary system where there's no fixed supply of Ether, new ones come in. Now, for the first time, you have an opportunity to burn Ether, and it's happening at a large scale. I think already $100 million worth of Ether has been burned. So people say there might be a case where instead of it being inflationary, it might go towards a situation where less tokens exist after a point in time in Ethereum. If that happens, maybe yes, but I don't believe that it'll surpass Bitcoin. That's not really something that's easy for anyone to do. And also the fact that Bitcoin is just has to exist, doesn't have to try. I think that's my reasoning behind it.
Well, like you were saying, there's a lot of the gas fees are being burnt right now, and there are more and more apps being built on Ethereum. There are more and more use cases coming out for Ethereum. Do you ever see a scenario where we'll start burning more Ethereum than the Ethereum that's being produced, which is where it starts to become truly deflationary?
Yeah, I think so. Because of the mass, the way this the recent EIP has been built out, it's a very smart one where the base fee gets burnt all the time, while you can still tip the miners, but the base fee gets burnt. So if the usage increases drastically, what will happen is the amount of fees will overtake the amount of new Ethereum being created. And that is the point where you get into a deflationary ecosystem. Hard to maintain, but if it keeps growing, who knows? It's possible.
Well, I'm going to say something as a complete noob, which is, if you look at gold and Bitcoin being sort of similar, and you draw an equivalence between them, and Ethereum and the internet being sort of equivalent, because there's so many applications being built on Ethereum, do you think the value of the internet today is greater than the value of gold on the planet?
It's absolutely. If you're asking me, yes, it is. I understand. I buy that. The only difference here, just to have a different viewpoint, is the internet is just one network. In crypto, what is happening is multi-network ecosystem. So that might be the dampener, but otherwise, I completely agree with your point of view.
Because you always hear about Ethereum killers. So there are more and more sort of, protocols being built that are similar to Ethereum, faster than Ethereum, better than Ethereum.
And more importantly, interoperability is becoming a thing. So, most of these protocols, they exist on multiple platforms, And there are now products being built which say that does not matter what platform you're on, Ethereum or something else, we support all of them. So I'm seeing the world going towards that, which is why the one internet thing may not be a reality in the future.
Yeah, true. I'm going to come back to that word interoperability in a while when we talk a little bit about NFTs. But I first want to talk to you about coin burn, which is what Ethereum is doing right now. WazirX has just completed its 5th coin burn. How many WazirX tokens or what value did you burn just now?
So we did about, I think, $8 million, about 60 crores. And it's in terms of the number of tokens that we burned, it's the highest ever. And the objective is always, let's burn more tokens every quarter. Fortunately, the crypto ecosystem is also growing more every quarter. And our coin burn is directly proportional to the growth of the crypto ecosystem. Yeah, you can say that this has been the best quarter for crypto in India.
It makes your head spin. I know that the more transaction you complete and the more sort of WazirX token gets used, the more WazirX you burn. But $8 million worth of WazirX being burned. Why does a company or a token do that?
So I think multiple aspects. One is right in the beginning, we had told our customers and our users that as we grow, we're going to burn the tokens. So that's one. The second is if you look at the tokenomics of most of the crypto in general, is one is they're fixed in supply. Mm-hmm. And that's what even WRX is. WRX is a fixed supply. And one of the best ways to ensure that there is a good demand and a proper supply is to reduce the supply, which increases the demand automatically. And we're trying to go towards that. So we, I understand it. It's revenues, what do you do? But I think sticking to this, it creates a long-term, I would say, positive effect on the token. It may not be very inherent in the short term. What used to happen before 2-3 years ago is coin burn used to be seen as that event where people used to be like, the coin prices are going to go up really quick. Let's buy in and then let's dump it. Fortunately, now it's become more stable. People have understood that it's not an overnight thing, but it's a slow and steady process where every quarter different teams try to burn the coin so that the supply overall reduces. And that's what we are trying to do.
I just have a suggestion. The next time you want to do a coin burn, just give it to me and we'll do a music festival. Do you have any idea the kind of music festival you could do with $8 million? Nischal, what are you doing?
Absolutely. I think the only problem is that will come back to the supply, right? We don't want it to come back.
Damn it. Okay, coming back to interoperability. NFTs. One of the most exciting use cases of NFTs is in the video game market, where you can purchase a tool, a weapon from one game and transfer it to another game. And we're talking about, in the other episode that I did before this, we're talking about how NFTs are potentially going to change the way creators, collectors, and speculators are going to exist. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what is happening is the internet is getting more real. That's what is happening. And NFT is bringing that reality. So one of the reality of the world is if you were to own something in the real world and you were to change your house, it doesn't mean you need to necessarily leave everything behind and go. You can also shift it with you. And that did not really exist in the gaming sector before, but now it does. If you were to the future would be where all of that hard work that you've done to gain those characters, those land or whatever that is, would be interoperable, which means you can move from one game to the other. And the best thing about that is it benefits not just you as a gamer, but also the gaming community and the gaming products. Because as more and new games are being built, one of the biggest difficulty for a new game is how do I make someone start all over again? And that's so much difficult. But now what happens is you can just move on. It's like, how you could take your data from one product to the other. Now you can take everything from one game to the other. So I think it's a beautiful concept that has emerged. Very early days, but very interesting.
It is very early days for the NFT marketplace at WazirX as well. And you're doing fantastically well. I spoke to your team on my previous episode, and I just want to say congratulations on the NFT marketplace. Do you have any other plans that you'd like to divulge about what you're going to be doing in the NFT space?
So we just launched an auction feature just a few days back, and I think that was one of the most asked for. The other thing we are trying to also understand is what are the other aspects of NFTs? Because when you hear about NFTs, we started with art, but I believe there's so much more, like you said about the gaming world and everything. So we want to understand what are the other aspects of NFT we can get into. We don't want to be restricted just to the art world, and we are trying to understand that we are not innovators. We are more of we listen to our users and our customers, and we follow that. So we're trying to talk to a lot of people to understand. Like recently, I was talking to someone, they spoke about how they wanted to put their poetry on an NFT. I think that's a very beautiful idea. Someone wanted to write a book and they wanted to put the first manuscript of that on an NFT and sell it before they even publish a book. I think these are some of the really amazing use cases I'm looking forward to.
I mean, can you imagine if the manuscript of Lord of the Rings was available as an NFT?
Exactly.
I wouldn't be able to afford it, but oh my God, I would love to own that. That would be amazing. Right. Nischal, thank you so much for your time, man. I just want to just wrap up by saying that, I think we both agree that Bitcoin is still and will continue to be a good store of value, but it's also not a bad idea to have a little gold as well. Physical gold doesn't hurt, and it's for people, consumers, to decide how much they want to invest in either. The only other question that I do want to ask you, and I'm going to put you on the spot on this, which is with the amount of development happening on Ethereum, which tokens or which dApps do you think traders should be looking at closely? Not purchasing, looking at closely.
Sure. I think quite a few. One, I'm very close, and I'm just biased towards Indian projects that are working, is EPNS, Ethereum Push Notification Service. And why I really believe in that is because they're building a decentralized push notification. Now that does not exist, and it's a new part of the whole decentralized ecosystem. So that's something I closely look at. Apart from that, I think the new trend emerging is all these games. Quite a few. I don't want to name any specific, but I think if you're an investor, look at some of those games, because the combination of crypto and NFT and decentralization is going to create some really amazing large games. We've heard about Axie Infinity recently, which is getting popular, but I also believe country-specific games will emerge, India-specific games built for the Indian community. So yeah, keep an eye out on those as well.
Thanks a lot, man. That's extremely valuable advice, and I think you'll have a lot of traders going and scrambling and trying to check out which of these games they should be looking at. But once again, thank you so much, Nischal. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we'll catch you again soon on another episode of Connect.
Thanks, Nikhil, for having me on the show.